Who from the administration did most of the talking today?
Caitlin, I know there's been reporting about that Secretary Hicks said didn't, speak as much. I heard them all, give their opinion. I do think it's really interesting that the Director of National Intelligence, Tulsi Gabbard, was not allowed in the room. I mean, I've never, ever been part of a major cabinet level classified briefing where the Director of National Intelligence was banned from the room. And I think it stands to reason that they knew that she was not going to toe the line, that she was likely going to refuse to say what the administration wants, which is that the program was obliterated. Again, the evidence suggests that the program was not obliterated, and obviously Gabbard was kept out of that room. Even though she would normally be leading that briefing, I assume because she was going to tell some version of the truth.
So you think they didn't invite the Director of National Intelligence because they wouldn't like what she had to say?
I don't know why she wasn't there, but there is clearly a reason. And it's well known that when it comes to the pre-strike intelligence, Gabbard was telling, a story that was very familiar to us, that Iran was still, a long way away from a deliverable nuclear weapon, and that the regime had not made the choice to actually pursue or speed towards a nuclear weapon. That was inconvenient for a president that wanted to strike without congressional authorization, because if Iran hadn't even decided to get a nuclear weapon, then there is no imminent threat and you would have to come to Congress first. I have to assume that there was some story she was going to tell, some interpretation of the intelligence she was going to give today that rubbed the White House the wrong way. Why else would the Director of National Intelligence not be leading a classified briefing on the interpretation of intelligence regarding these strikes?
Donald Trump's illegal and unjustifiable strike on Iran was fundamentally built on a lie. And that is all that we have seen from this administration since then. Lies to soothe Trump's ego, to justify his actions, and of course, to cover his ass for this failed military operation. Now, none of that should come as a surprise to any of us. But what is surprising is that Fox was willing to confront him over it in an interview this morning with Maria Bartiromo, in which Trump was questioned and quickly imploded after being confronted over his failed operation. But before we do, we need to see how this all began with a flip-flop from J.D. Vance in an interview right here.
Congratulations to everyone. It has been fully agreed by and between Israel and Iran that there will be a complete and total ceasefire in approximately 6 hours from now, when Israel and Iran have wound down and completed their in-progress final missions for 12 hours, at which point, the ceasefire for 12 hours, at which point the war will be considered ended. Officially, Iran will start the ceasefire, and upon the 12th hour, Israel will start the ceasefire, and upon the 24th hour, an official end to the 12-day war will be saluted by the world. During each ceasefire, the other side will remain peaceful and respectful on the assumption that everything works as it should, which it will. I would like to congratulate both countries, Israel and Iran, on having the stamina, courage, and intelligence to end what should be called the 12-day war. This is a war that could have gone on for years and destroyed the entire Middle East, but it didn't and never will. God bless Israel, God bless Iran, God bless Iran, God bless the Middle East, God bless the United States of America, and God bless the world. He seems confident that this is all coming together.
That's right.
And when you left the White House, were you thinking this was all gelling here?
When I left the White House, I thought that we might be able to get it across the finish line before this broadcast, and it looks like the president has been able to do that. I mean, look, he's been working the phones constantly. Frankly, before the 12-day war started, but certainly over the past 12 days, the president's been extremely clear about America's national objective here. It is to create a world where Iran cannot build a nuclear weapon. We, of course, destroyed the nuclear program that they had, and the president told the entire team, we're going to work to make sure that they don't try to rebuild that nuclear capability in the future. And look, this is a great thing. For Israel, think about this. They've accomplished an important military objective. They've helped us destroy the Iranian nuclear program. They've also destroyed the conventional missile capability of Iran that threatened the country of Israel. For the Iranians, I think this is a new opportunity to actually pursue the path of peace. As I said yesterday, what the Iranians have showed through their support of terror networks, through their now failed effort to build a nuclear weapon, is that they're just not very good at war. And I think the president really hit the reset button and said, look, let's actually produce long-term peace for the region. That's always been his goal. I actually think when we look back, we will say the 12-day war was an important reset moment for the entire region.
Would you be surprised if Iran is sending out signals that it doesn't have a specific ceasefire plan? How would the communication have been with the Iranians to get this level of confidence to put out that detailed statement?
Well, one of the things I've learned, Brett, about the Iranians in the past, 4 or 5 months that I've been in this job is what they say publicly and privately can sometimes be very different. I think what the Iranians have shown very clearly is they don't want this war to go on for much longer. Their air defenses have been totally destroyed. Their conventional missile program has been largely destroyed. And of course, their nuclear program has been obliterated, as I said before. So I think the Iranians are at a place where they don't want to keep on fighting. You saw the president, and I don't have the truth in front of me, but he talked about the next 6 hours finalizing the attacks. I mean, I think what he's talking about is right now, for the American people watching, it's dark over there. That's typically when the Israelis and the Iranians have been shooting at each other. I think there's some recognition that that might continue for another few hours, and tomorrow really is a new day. The end of the 12-day war, the end of the Iranian nuclear program, and I really do believe the beginning of something very big for peace in the Middle East.
You said totally obliterated. The president has said totally obliterated the Iran nuclear program.
Yeah.
Do you know for sure where all the highly enriched uranium is?
Well, Brett, I think that's actually not the question before us. The question before us is, can Iran enrich the uranium to a weapons-grade level, and can they convert that fuel to a nuclear weapon? And we know, based on the success of our mission, of course, the leadership of the president, but the incredible skill of our military, that the two mission objectives are completely successful. We know that they cannot build a nuclear weapon. Now, you asked about the highly enriched uranium.
Yeah, like 900 pounds of it.
But what we know, Brett, is that uranium is something that exists in very large supply. Our goal was to bury the uranium, and I do think the uranium is buried, but our goal was to eliminate the enrichment and eliminate their ability to convert that enriched fuel into a nuclear weapon. I think this is an important point, Brett, because so many of the folks who have focused on the highly enriched uranium,
60%.
The main focus, Brett, has been to destroy their enrichment capacity, because we don't want that 60% uranium to become 90% uranium. That's the real concern, and that's what was so successful about our mission.
So after all this, if the Iranian government survives as is, what's to stop it from rebuilding over time if they in fact moved the 60% highly enriched uranium? That's the concern.
No, the big concern, Brett, and this is again what we destroyed, is their ability to enrich uranium. If they have 60% enriched uranium, but they don't have the ability to enrich it to 90%, and further, they don't have the ability to convert that to a nuclear weapon, that is mission success. That is the obliteration of their nuclear program, which is why the president, I think, rightly is using that term. But here's the question. If Iran is desperate to build a nuclear weapon in the future, then they're going to have to deal with a very, very powerful American military again. Our hope is that the lesson that the Iranians have learned here is, look, we can fly a bunker buster bomb from Missouri to Iran completely undetected without landing once on the ground, and we can destroy whatever nuclear capacity you build up. I think that lesson is what's going to teach them not to rebuild their nuclear capacity.
We have seen so much moving of the goalposts from this administration advance right here is a perfect example. The most important objective of this strike was to destroy the enriched uranium, which was able to be moved out because Donald Trump was telegraphing what he was about to do with insane posts on Truth Social. And so Vance can say whatever he wants, but what we know to be true is that Donald Trump failed. This operation failed because of his idiocy. The administration can't cover for that, especially as members of Congress are now being briefed on intelligence showing exactly how much of a disaster this strike was. And before we get into Trump, I want to hear Chris Murphy detail that right here.
Obvious reasons, it was classified. But did the briefing as a whole change your mind on whether Iran's program was, to quote the president, obliterated?
Well, listen, I thought it was a good briefing, but these Republicans who are saying the program is obliterated are doing it without the facts to back it up. As your reporting describes, you cannot obliterate a program if you still have both centrifuges and enriched uranium up to the 60% level that still exist. And that is what has been reported. And I didn't hear anything today that disputes that reporting. It's true, these strikes did a lot of damage to those 3 facilities. But if Iran still has the knowledge as to how to run a nuclear program, if they still have centrifuges, if they still have uranium that is enriched to the 60% level, then it is true that you have only set back the program by months.
So not only is there the possibility that at those very sites there still is enriched uranium, but it is likely that most all of it had been moved out of the facilities. And why? Because we have an idiotic President Rage posting into the night, telegraphing every action he plans to make. That is the current state of things. And of course, the administration is trying to cover for that by saying that either the uranium isn't important, we don't care about it, or it actually was destroyed. But they can't really make up their mind. And we can see that was true when Trump was confronted by Maria Bartiromo right here.
Do you think that the Iran regime hid some of the enriched uranium before the strikes?
No. You mean, did they take it out of the deep one? No.
Because you were pretty clear you can't have a weapon, you're going to have to come to the talk, something's going to happen.
I don't think they did. No, I think, first of all, it's very hard to do. It's very dangerous to do. It's very heavy, very, very heavy. It's a very hard thing to do. Plus, we didn't give them much notice because they didn't know we were coming until just, then. And nobody thought we'd go after that site because everybody said that site is impenetrable.
Because I saw reports that there were 400 kilograms, 800 pounds that they moved.
Yeah.
But I wonder if it's traceable. I mean, if they were to have moved
They didn't move anything.
They didn't move anything.
You know what they moved themselves? They were all trying to live. They didn't move anything.
Thanks for watching this video, and if you stuck around to the end, drop a blue heart in the comments, and until next time, I'll see you soon.